Thank you for staying with us. The Nigeria Labour Congress has requested an extension of time for its president, Joe Ajaero, to honor the police invitation over the allegations leveled against him, including terrorism financing. In a letter by solicitors to the NLC signed by Samuel Ogala, Joe Ajaero is unable to honor Tuesday's invitation as he has an engagement that had been fixed before the invitation letter was received. The letter also stated that Mr. Ajaero is prepared to attend the interview on Wednesday, the 29th of August. The NLC president is also requesting to know details and nature of the allegations of criminal conspiracy, terrorism financing, treasonable felony, subversion, and cybercrime leveled against him. Joining us in the studio is Jide Ologun, a lawyer and public affairs analyst, to expatiate on this matter. Good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Right. If you look at the papers this morning, it is awash with this matter of the invitation of the NLC president. And some of the statement coming out of the Congress is that they are being harassed by government. And there are those questions asking, okay, who is harassing who as we speak? Because the Congress is saying that they will down tools if the comrade is arrested, that's the president if he's arrested, and all of it. But is this harassment, so to speak, from government if they are calling, asking that you come and perhaps speak to certain issues?
Thank you. Wonderful question there. Let's start from the angle of the TSS and the police. When you look at the mission of the police is to make the country a safe and secure place for economic development and growth. And for that purpose, they are to prevent, detect crimes, and of course can apprehend for investigation purposes. And of course proceed to prosecute where necessary. So that is the constitutional mandate of the police, and that can be carried out to ensure that there is security in the land, because the main assignment is to ensure that we have protection of lives and properties. And the DSS also is to gather intelligence and ensure that we have internal security in the nation and protect our leaders, particularly the president and the governors. So when I started reading about going to the NLC, building to get some documents and things like that, I knew something was coming up. And if the police have gathered some materials that they have tagged as seditious, and when you talk about sedition, it is about inciting people to rebel against authority, then I throw it on the table of criminal justice ecosystem that has three main pillars, which is thorough investigation, diligent prosecution before a committed judiciary. So right now, when the police invite you, they are carrying out investigation. I think there's just a suspicion from NLC that it may go beyond that. And it's a great thing that Ajaero and NLC, that they have a very good legal representation in the person of the senior silk, Femi Falana, who has demanded that clarifications be made, because I'll let you know those allegations are weighty allegations. Absolutely. Talking about treasonable felony, sedition, cybercrime, and funding terrorism.
Yes.
And I want to leave it on the scale of thorough investigation. Let's see, because obviously the police got something. And one of the allegations is that a Sudanese terrorist or so has been found romancing or hovering around the secretariat of the NLC, and that the NLC is mobilizing terrorists against the authority. But these are allegations, because if you go to section 36 of the Nigerian Constitution, we have this presumption of innocence. The defendant is entitled to fair hearing. So,
absolutely.
And what the law says is that even the defendant is presumed innocent. until the allegations are proved beyond all reasonable doubt. So here we are now. And then the son has asked for more time. For which also is legitimate for him to appear and seeking for clarification so that there won't be surprises. But the back end is that the NLC is now threatening that
they're down to.
Exactly. So it's a very sensitive matter.
But when you look at the reaction of the NLC, there are those questioning issues. This shouldn't be a problem. It's just a questioning that the president was asked to come and do. It's just going to be questioned. So they're reacting in this manner is begging some certain questions from Nigerians.
You know, in law, there is what you call precedent. In public relations, there is perception. So it's a mixture of the two. Now, let me take us to the case of Emefiele. It also started like this, funding terrorism, you know, different kind of offenses until the charges started changing. Emefiele is not yet out from the net of the government. I mean, even though investigations revealed some heinous crime against the state. Let me now take us back to 2018. You recall the Offa robbery in 2018. I think it was April 5, 2018. And within hours, it was linked to the then Senate President Bukola Saraki, claiming that the 5 arrowheads of the robbery attended the wedding of the then President of Senate. So he must be involved. You know, so and at the end of the day, what happened to this Offa matter? And what led to that? It was a time the President of the Senate came up with about 10 resolutions against the then President, Muhammadu Buhari, even though some senators were not in support. So you recall when DSS just woke up and went to barricade the National Assembly. So the trust capital is very weak for that relationship. So you need to be careful, particularly when the human rights respect profile of the nation may not be upscale. You see, and particularly when the government is maybe out to deal with the end bad governance protesters, because this is the direct.
But they came out to say that they are not part of it. Yeah,
but I read a report also that they were not part of it, but they used some of the barricades of NLC, you see. So, and as a chief superintendent of police, I can let you know that when investigations commence, you know, if the government is determined to nail anyone, you may not escape from that net. So I think right now that thorough investigation should be allowed, and the fundamental human rights of the stakeholders should be allowed.
That's right.
I also want to advise the government to please shift attention from symptoms and begin to address the fundamental issues in this land, just like the NSAS protest also. What are the underlying issues that are prompting these responses and agitations in the society? Address them. Even if somebody is arrested and jailed for 20 years, will that change the situation until we attend to the economy of the nation and ensure that the provisions of Section 16 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended that stipulates that the economy should not be managed in a way that concentrates wealth in the hands of a few. When we begin to generate common wealth for common good, then we may have more persons to arrest because the agitations
But one won't say that because there are fundamental issues that the government has failed or maybe has not sufficiently addressed, and some people are calling for the head of the government, just so to speak, or trying to upturn the sanity in the society. So that shouldn't be a ground for anyone to go beyond the provisions of the law.
You see, in management, we talk about proactivism, which means you act ahead. And in public relations, we talk about crisis management. You have the proactive crisis management where you prevent issues from escalating into crisis. And we have the reactive. When you are managing the crisis, you could have prevented. Is anybody calling for the head of government in Switzerland, in Sweden, in Austria, and I can go on, in Singapore? And that is why I'm just advising the government. You see, so and it's a function of perception. Fine. The perception of the government is that, why are you disturbing us? We are doing our best. But the perception of the citizens is that there is hunger in the land, there is hardship in the land, that this economy is not beneficial to all. And on the scale of ROI, returns on investment, is that correct? Yes. When you look at the parity, as we speak now, here, we have fuel crisis. You know, so these are issues. Now, let's assume Ajaero now shows up in the police, whatever, office, and the government decides to keep him for more than 24 or 48 hours without doing the proper thing, and NLC shuts down the nation. What happens again to the nation? And we need to look at the concept of reputation. How is this country being managed? The opportunities are there to do the right thing. These are corporate governance issues. You see, so that is my concern.
But in event, no one is saying, of course, he is presumed innocent, but in event that they were able to establish, something very, significant or something very cogent about some of these allegations that were leveled against him, should the NLC be throwing their weight behind anyone who is found wanting, so to speak?
I laid a precedent. When Emefiele saga started, a lot of stakeholders came in, talking about intimidation, about this and that, ethnicity and everything. But eventually, when revelation started coming out, who is advocating for, who is concerned about Emefiele now? In fact, some are even saying he should stay with them, and some are even saying fast-track his prosecution and let him go and cool down. That is the point we are making. When Ekweremadu was apprehended in the UK, there were agitations. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo wrote a letter. Yeah. The ECOWAS tried to intervene, but the process of law proceeded. And that's the point we are making. So if the police, if there are concrete evidence and exhibits to link him to crime, crime is crime. A crime is an offense against the state. And under the concept of the rule of law, nobody is above the law. Absolutely. Even when, I've said it, if you go and monitor the profile of governance in South Korea, some past presidents have gone to prison in South Korea, because the moment you step out of office, your immunity stops there. Even in South Africa. That is the point we are making. So, and that's why I laid the foundation that the police has a mandate to make the country a safer, not even safe, if you go and check it, a safer and more secured environment for economic development and growth, and to protect lives and property. So if there are things that are threatening the internal security of the nation, it's in the purview of the police to either prevent or apprehend the players, investigate, and let there be consequences. So that is a legitimate role. But on the part of the government also, Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended says clearly that the security and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. So if we now had a weak welfare system that has prompted people to come out and protest, it should also be addressed. And let's see how we can bridge that gap. And again, like I said in one of the earlier interviews, I congratulate the president, particularly with those flying the flags of Russia and everything, because those are handwritings also on the wall. So you can even use that to test your political thermometer and know where you are flowing. So it's about generating commonwealth for common good. So that there won't be agitations.
Absolutely. But I am wondering, stemming from the last statement you made with regards to the handling of this matter, I recall that you had mentioned the matter of trust deficit. he mentioned if there is something substantial found, how to handle this will be another matter because of the trust deficit. I'm wondering how it will be. It may not be a walk in the park for both sides because these persons talking about the Labour do not necessarily trust the government as it is. That's why they are already agitating. And so there has been calls for transparency in all the processes. And that is relative. At the end of the day, if you talk about transparency, what might be transparent for the government may not seem transparent for Labour as it is. How do we ensure this transparency, respect for the rule of law, all of that? But first, before you do that, before you respond, let's quickly go on break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were speaking about the invitation given to the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress by security operatives about allegations leveled against him, allegations of terrorism, financing, cybercrime, treason, and all of it. And then we were speaking, before we went on the break, we were speaking with our guest in the studio, lawyer and public affairs analyst Jide Ologun. But joining us now is Sam Omaseye, columnist, essayist, and what more should I add?
Novelist poet.
Anyway, thank you for joining us, Sam. But before I went to the break, I asked a question. Let me quickly finish. Let me get your response to that, talking about how easy this will be, seeing there's already a trust deficit on the part of both parties. Labour is calling for that they are being harassed and all of it, but then we are seeing people asking for transparency in the process. If something substantial is found, how easy will it be for government to prove that it is being transparent, it is upholding the rule of law and every right that is accrued to this person?
You know, it's an easy thing. Within the police system, you have a high-level investigative team. You know, look at when the case of Emefiele started. By the time an investigator started rolling out facts and documents and everything, people started stepping aside. So, and that is the place of the transparency. And we have laid a foundation that already the police went and got some documents from the NLC. So let's see what those documents are. Then let them be presented to the world. And under the concept of the rule of law, the government cannot be prevented from carrying out legitimate exercise. So, and I can assure you, if I understand the psychology of human beings, that if indeed there are issues that can link him with some of these crimes, even some of the supporters will start, you know, stepping aside to ask him to go and face the law.
All right. Sam, let's get your perspective of things to this matter. We have seen Labour come out to talk about they'll be down tools if Comrade Ajaero is arrested at the end of the day. And some Nigerians are asking, it's just questioning, why not just go? But they have come out to say that, you know what, the 29th is when Ajaero will be available for this questioning. But when you look at the allegations leveled against him, is there really anything for him to be worried about?
The thing, though, is that we don't know the evidence.
Right.
NLC does not know the evidence. Maybe Ajaero does not know the evidence. So if they say, Ajaero, come and answer questions about treason and terrorism financing.
Yeah.
The first thing is for you to be curious. What is this thing they have about me? I want to know. I want to go there. Why do you go to your lawyers to say, no, I won't be available 29? It's just like what the Bible says. Is it in Psalm 22? It says, the wicked man runneth when no man pursueth. Okay. They've not told you that you are going to jail. They've not said you are guilty. The only thing is that come here and answer questions. And it is not that they're asking you to come there because you stole somebody's goat in the backyard. They didn't say that. The thing is treason. Treason means an offense against the state. And what that means is that it's an urgent matter. So when you go and meet your lawyer, and your lawyer writes things that, oh, you won't be available on the 29th, this is not a matter of I better pass my neighbor. It's not an issue. It's an issue of the corporate threat to the existence of this country. So that is why I feel that it is irresponsible for anybody to say
but
that.
Doesn't he have a right to know the details? Because the lawyer
if he wants to know the details, let him go to the police that invited him. Abi, they said, come, we have things here. You want the police to go to his bedroom and say, this is what we have. NLC says they want to down to. On what evidence?
If he's arrested.
If he's arrested.
Yes.
Now that what is going on? What is going on now is de facto resistance of arrest, because they say come, and you say, I'm not coming, I'm not ready to come yet. I'm still eating eba and pepper soup. Okay, eat your pepper soup, come and catch you there. But the thing is easy, because this thing is happening, as you said, in the context of what happened in the past 2 weeks. There were protests, there were people twirling, what they call it?
The Russian flag.
The Russian flags. There were people calling for the army to come in. And you know that the National Security Advisor, during the last Council of State, said that they have trapped 60 billion naira that was set aside for funding this protest.
Right.
And 36 or 37 million dollars in cryptocurrency. That's a lot of money. And they say that there are elements in the country, politicians and their cohorts, who were behind this. So want all of that to come in. So if they say, even if they say, in this country, if they say, Samomache, we want you to come, and sometimes I want to know, what do they have? Is there no curiosity?
Exactly.
Eh? If my neighbor says that his goat is missing, and that they want to find out, I say, I open my door unless I'm hiding the goat somewhere that I'm trying to do a share with. Unless I'm hiding it, I will tell him, come and look at it.
Right.
But
they came out during the protest to say that they were not part of it.
That is a declaration.
Right.
Declaration is one thing, fact is another thing. It's not what you say that makes you innocent, it's what you do.
Where the facts are.
Where the facts are, as Charles Dickens says, facts. Yes, that's it.
Right. So now the matter will be, still sticking with you, how government should go about this matter. We have said that it's weighty allegations that have been leveled against them, but we have seen Amnesty International speaking, we are seeing CSO speaking, there are those who are talking about rights of persons and some of these organizations being trampled upon, seemingly. So how should government go about handling this case in such a way that it is seen to be transparent in dealing with this issue?
You see, the issue of treason is a very sensitive matter. Issue of treason is a very sensitive matter. That is why the integrity of the police, the integrity of the state must also be guarded in handling matters like this. It is not every fact you know, especially when it has to do with national security, that you put there on the surface. But eventually, if it gets to the brass tacks, it has to go through the court of law. Eventually, it has to go through the court of law. Remember that we had issues of treasonable felony in the 1960s with Abafemi Awolowo. You have to prove it. You have to prove it. If you can't prove it, then you have no evidence. And if they are accused, you have to go there and show that you have no plot against us. The police said they went to the building. There were 10 floors in the NLC building, and they went to floor 2 or so.
All right.
So, because they were looking at somebody of international interest who was involved in treasonous acts, terrorism acts. Okay, said the police PRO says, he said it could be called treasonous, terrorists. And the person was of interest, they got valuable materials there. And they discovered that there were some communication with the NLC president. What was the nature of this communication with the NLC president? The NLC president must be aware of his own communication with this fellow. So if he knows that his communication with this fellow is innocent, then why doesn't he show up? Maybe he said something that he shouldn't have said, or he did something that he shouldn't have done. And one way or the other, he unveiled it to his lawyer. And his lawyer said, well, we'll keep them waiting. Let's look for how we will defend you. Is that the fact? We don't know.
Right.
But as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We don't have pudding here. The proof of the pepper soup is in the taste.
Absolutely.
Whether there's enough goat inside, or there's enough
Spice.
pepper
Or fish.
You will know.
We will know. But the concern now is how this makes the NLC look. A body that holds government to account now is being questioned as it is for, questionable issues and all of it. And you know that some before now have been talking about how it is that the trust that they repose on the NLC has been waning, because it doesn't seem like they are really doing enough to really hold government to account and bring to question, get the kinds of results that they want from the NLC. And now we are seeing these kinds of issues. How does that, impact on their image and what they are even cut out to do for the people at the end of the day?
Thank you. That also is part of what is going on, because reference was made to Section 15, subsections 2 to 4 of the Unions Act, that says that using the union's money to fund political activities is a crime. And don't forget that recently there were some misunderstandings between the Labour Party and the NLC leadership and everything. So it's a very tight one. And that political infiltration has actually affected the image and reputation of NLC as a union that aims at defending and protecting the interest of workers in the country and putting the government on her toes to do the right thing. And we can also go back in history. You recall the experience of Ajaero himself in Imo State.
Yes.
When he went to Imo State to picket.
Yes.
Very close to
the election.
Exactly. So these are issues. But like Oga mentioned here, all this will be brought to fore by investigation. But I can let you know, before the police will say come, they have some materials. So the quality of the materials they have is what we don't know now, all right? And when it comes to issues of treason, it's a very heavy one. And I think that is why he did not just rush to go and show himself, that he had to go and consult his lawyer. And that is why the lawyer is asking for more clarification. So there are two options here. The police may become impatient and say, since you've not come, but then legitimately, you can ask for time. As okay, 29th of August, it's around the corner. My prayer is just that other events will not show up, that we push this aside, going by what we have seen in the country also, because there have been many cases that should have been moved beyond the level of mentioning that have not moved. Like I said, some don't even get investigated. I can let you know there is someone who is still being searched for across the country now. And the Court of Appeal has even said, before you even do anything judicially, show up. So these are issues. And again, we must not put the government in the cage of a lame duck. Not at all. The government has been saddled with the responsibility to order the nation in the direction of development. So everything that needs to be done to give the rule of law its right of place, whether in respect of individuals or unions or even people in government, should be done. And I've always advised that the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces at the end of the day will be the big name on the back of the cover of the report of that tenure. So he has to wake up to ensure that a mandate in the Constitution for moving the nation towards prosperity is achieved. And whatever action must be taken towards this, we have the MDAs, we have the parastatals, we have the authority by virtue of Section 5 of the Constitution to, executively pilot the nation to a better plane. So we are watching, and like I said, it's either the police will say we cannot wait till 29th and try to, after all, they found their way to the NLC building. Exactly, too, because the janitor was not cooperating, but they found their way in. So let's just monitor and see how it goes. But by and large, the government must be seen to be alive to their responsibilities. Absolutely.
Quickly, in 2 seconds or 3, if you can, your final thoughts. Because our time is up. Just quickly, your final thoughts on this.
I think that this is a very serious matter, and people should not turn this into a partisan affair. We should make sure that we handle this matter with all the seriousness it deserves. If it's innocent, let us know. If it's guilty, let us know. And let the government get to the bottom of all those who were involved.
Yes,
this 60 billion, this cryptocurrency issue is a very important matter.
Okay, we'll have to wrap things up here with this conversation now. Jide Ologun, lawyer and public affairs analyst, thank you so much for your time on
bless Nigeria.
Yes.